The QE6000 came along after the regular Q series as a more affordable introduction to vinyl cutters, or maybe a transition cutter like mentioned earlier. So the QE6000 is not part of the Q series, but the QE series. Now, all of that's branding, and I guess it's important. We definitely want you to know the names, but I want you to pay attention to another name, and that's Graphtec. Jerry, why is Graphtec so important?
Well, Graphtec manufactures Sign Warehouse's Q series and QE cutters. And so, if you're familiar with the Graphtec name, you know you're getting a reliable product from a leading producer of high-quality roll-fed vinyl cutters. In fact, Sign Warehouse has been a proud supplier of Graphtec vinyl cutters for nearly 25 years.
We should mention that Graphtec manufactures the Silhouette, so many of you are already familiar with how well they build their machines, but let's talk specifics.
Sure, let's begin with the QE6000. Again, it's made by Graphtec, and from the moment you turn the cutter on to let it initialize, you can't help but notice just how fast it moves and how quietly. The carriage moves quickly across the width of the y-axis, but the material also tracks forward and backward both quickly and accurately, as seen here when slicing the vinyl. The QE6000 has a quiet and precise digital servo motor that cuts small fonts with amazing precision.
Now let's pause there. When you say precision, that means the items you cut look the way you designed them. I point that out because some cutters out there that claim to be fast fail to mention that it's at the expense of consistent precision cutting. The QE6000, however, has a precise cut while cutting how fast?
It has a cut speed of 24 inches per second and 300 grams of force. That means it handles anything up to 20 mil rhinestone stencil film on a regular basis.
That's impressive.
As for tracking, the QE6000 tracks up to 25 feet for consistent production of large jobs.
Now, to help you get the best tracking, we recommend using the QE6000's floor stand with roller system. It helps the media feed freely through the machine without being pulled by unwanted resistance. Not to mention the stand will take up less floor space in your shop than having to bring in maybe a table for it. Okay, Jerry, it's time to talk over our heads for a minute because I'm looking at the spec sheet for the QE6000 and I see a word that I've heard used in this conversation before, but I still don't exactly understand what it means. What is Tangential Plus technology and why is it important?
Well, this feature on the QE6000 and Q series cutters is often referred to as tangential emulation. There's an entire article explaining tangential emulation on our Sign College blog, but basically it's a setting for cutting thick media like 35 mil sandblast stencil precisely for easy weeding. The Tangential Plus setting can be turned on or off or fine-tuned, but basically it articulates corners in a way that overcuts the path and prevents the cutter from trying to turn corners while cutting using the standard drag swivel method. Without this feature, you can have a hard time weeding thicker material or even damage your blade holder because it's trying to swivel and turn at the same time in thick media. Again, we have an article that goes into detail about the mechanics of this feature. We'll include a link to that in your handouts. Another important feature of the QE6000, of course, is this ARMS 5.0 firmware for contour cutting.
Now, this may be the most important selling point for these and other Graphtec manufactured cutters. Why don't you tell us what that means exactly?